my first question is, you wrote the screenplay and directed the film overall. So, what was the process like of both writing and directing the film, and where did you really come up with the story overall?
The store, well, we last year decided that instead of doing another low budget TV show like Reno, we should maybe try to write a low budget movie so that we would have the same freedom that we had with Reno, but make a movie. Why not, right? It's Tom's idea, the whole movie. We basically, the whole premise, one was to give an arena for Keegan Michael Key to be that very strange character of Purnell. That was really all we wanted to do. Make a movie where he could pop in and out of the crawl space and say odd things. And then that was the big idea. And also just to do a sort of as a change of pace from our big studio movies that we're often writing, do a movie where there's really no committee. And just we're obviously making choices of things that we think will be funny to us. It's really jam-packed with the sorts of things you could never ever do in a studio movie, which is just random funniness, like going off and eating sandwiches a few times, and that sort of like blood and gore, and that sort of like long nudity. It's stuff that you just don't see much anymore, and it was fun. It was a really good change up from anything we've ever done before. We had a really good time.
And speaking of those bigger budget studio films that you've worked on in the past, both writing and directing as well, how did making Hell Baby maybe differ, compare overall? And did you have a preference in maybe making this type of film over the bigger budget films, or vice versa, or do you?
So, one thing I'll say about the bigger budget films is they have bigger budgets. Yes. That's really fun. Yeah. On the flip side, everything you do in the big studio movies, by the time any of your dialogue makes it to the screen, it's been vetted through a whole series of filters, be it, a bunch of studio executives, and then the director, and then the star, and then the other writers who rewrite you, and so, it ends up becoming very much a team effort. This film is very much just, I don't want to say it's like an experimental film, but it's like, we're the whole team. It's comparatively almost an experimental film. They're both really fun. Doing big studio stuff is a blast, and doing this, just the freedom to cast whoever we want and just do the jokes that we thought were funny was really, really fun. We'll never quit either job. They're both a really good time. We're lucky to have both of them. Oh yeah, he'll keep us at the other one. Absolutely.
And speaking of the cast in the movie, Rob and Leslie play the two main characters in the film. So, what was the casting process like for the two of them? Why did you ultimately decide to hire the two of them for the married couple in the film overall?
Leslie read the script and came directly to us immediately. We didn't really know her, but we thought, wow, if you're up for this, you seem like a good sport. And we knew she was sort of a more serious actress than we'd probably even planned on. Yes, Corddry was known for years, but never really worked with. No, he ever did Reno, and he really, I gotta say, I can openly say this, can carry the movie in a way that I sort of, this talk here, that I don't think I can do. Like, he's got a certain sort of charismatic presence that is really great. I love watching Corddry act, and I love how he's of our same school of thought, I think, which is whatever you're doing, especially the dumber it gets, get more serious and more serious and more committed to it as things get stupider and stupider and stupider. And he really does it well. He has like a real gravitas to like he's the serious thing in a movie full of like incompetent goofballs who are not helping him at all as he's kind of struggling through this movie. They were both great. Like we can't wait to work with either one of them again. They were really a real pleasure.
And I thought the movie overall had a pretty funny supporting cast as well. So, what was the casting process like for the rest of the cast and working with them overall on the set as well?
It was Keegan, I mean, the movie is sort of written for Keegan, so if he hadn't been available, we probably would have written another script, because this one was really for him to do his thing. Oh, yeah. When Rob and Hubel and Shear, like, we knew from the get-go they were going to be in it somewhere. When they decided we put them as the cops, and they're perfect. They just like such a old-timey, like, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope pair that just kind of drift in and out of the movie, which we love. Like, Michael Ian Black, we were so happy that he could come and do a scene. Like, Kumail he's like the future, man. Like, he's so funny, like, and he's just great. Everybody in it was the very first choice of who we wanted. Ricky Lennon, we've known for a long time, so asking her to do that scene was pretty weird. It was a pretty awkward conversation, but she was great. Fearless. You can tell she was a pretty great sport.
And the both of you also appeared in the film as well, besides writing and directing. And you both played the two priests in the film. So, what was your decision in actually starring in the film as well as directing and writing it?
You know, for us, it's all part of sort of a big same creative process. You know, it was very similar to how we did things on Reno. We were very much just up on our feet, sort of. And for us, it's never. We don't plan things out as much as we're willing to try things, and we're very open to sort of improvisation. And you know, so when we're directing, I think it's very hard to tell when we're directing the scene or just in the scene. It's obviously it helps to be in the scene you're directing. I find, yeah, but it's always sort of a big part of the process of us just being up on our feet trying things out. You know, we're never like sitting over at the video village saying like, oh, you know, like that's just not talking about it. Yeah, we're just up doing it. Yeah, and I think for like Tom and I mean, it worked really well in Reno that we play people who should be authority figures but are grossly incompetent, and yet they don't know how incompetent they are because they kind of take themselves seriously. Like we do that well, and it's fun. And so I think changing us from cops to priests wasn't that big of a nudge. No.
And speaking of improvising, did you allow the other actors in the film to maybe improv or offer suggestions on their characters' lines and actions overall? And did you have maybe a general rehearsal period with them before you actually began filming the movie?
We did. We hardly ever talk about this in any interviews. We did one table read of the script, but I should point out that we did it at Garant on Bourbon Street, which is a wonderful restaurant. It's a restaurant that they go eat at in Streetcar Named Desire. Garant, the fans to go to Garant, and everyone ended up having so many cocktails and Sazerac and stuff that none of the main cast really seems to remember the table read. So I don't know what decisions we made at it. I guess it worked. I guess it went pretty well. I know there were photos. People were tweeting photos of Rob Hubel out on the street with his shirt off right after the table read. So, and I know Hubel the next day told me he did not remember being in those photos at all. So that was the closest we came to a rehearsal. I think that's what the rehearsal period was. It was 1 3-hour dinner at Dallas Clubs. They say that you should learn the script so that you can forget it, which we skipped that part. We skipped the learning part. We skipped part one. The movie is probably about 80% script and probably about 20% improv, maybe a little bit less. The whole end of the movie, that great speech that Keegan Michael Key makes to Leslie about race relations, how people won't even say hello when they see you on the street. It's like, that was totally improv. I don't know if they planned it or not. I don't think they did. It seems like no. That came out of their mouths, that they both sort of went for the Oscar at the last minute, and we ended up using it in the final cut just because it's so pointless and out of nowhere. Wonderful.
And you actually filmed the movie in New Orleans, right? In that area. What was that process like overall, actually shooting down there, since that was where the movie was set overall?
It was great. We shot it all in about one block, just out of the warehouse district in the Moose neighborhood. And Tom and I, we both with our families rented places in the French Quarter and would bike to work. And we biked past 3 movie sets a day. We went past Django, and past some Tom Cruise movie. There's like so much shooting down there that
wanted to ask you one last question about Reno 911, like you mentioned earlier. How did working on that show maybe compare and contrast to working on the film overall?
This is all of our film work. This is the one that by far most closely parallels the Reno 911 model, where we didn't really have that much of a plan. It was very loose, very mostly where we bring in actors that we trust implicitly and get out of their way and let them do their thing. This was a lot like Reno, super fast. We very rarely sat in any sort of director's chair because there just wasn't time to sit down. It was, and there were no committee of people in suits at the monitor